Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I was sitting here smiling and laughing to myself because I'm not sure I'll even post this video, but I'll record it anyway and then decide later, as I've done before. I'm thinking today about a stuffed animal. You may have noticed it in one of my other videos. It was in the background in one shot in my bed, and I knew it was in that shot, and I decided to leave it there as a goof. I was like, maybe people will get a laugh from it, but it wasn't just placed there for the video. I've actually been sleeping with a stuffed animal in my bed, and I want to give a little backstory to that and then talk about my experience of it, because it's really interesting for me. It's interesting to reflect on the kind of world that little kids inhabit so easily, and that as adults we can maintain our connection with, but maybe it takes a little more practice and a little more intention. And it's interesting to think about what we are afforded when we live in that world, what we lose when we don't. We've been doing kind of a family project around here, which is, we have a shed where a lot of things go and never come back. A lot of very dusty boxes of old toys and books and things like that. And we were going through the shed and kind of reorganizing, let's see what's in these boxes. Let's see what we want to keep, what we want to give away, and so on and so forth. And something that emerged from the shed was this stuffed animal, this very large stuffed rabbit that I don't believe had a name when I was young, and it doesn't have a name today either. I'll show you. This is the one. And here, maybe a longer shot, just in case the first one wasn't thorough enough. Yeah, it was really interesting. As soon as I saw the rabbit, someone had left it on a bench in our house after they'd taken it out of the shed. I walked up to it and I picked it up and I said, "I've missed you so much, and I'm sorry you were put away, and how have you been?" And I was talking to the rabbit in this very gentle, second person focused manner. And I started carrying it around the house, on my hip like a baby. And I would sit with it and stroke it when I was feeling sad. Or just hug it. And there were some times where I was getting comfort from the rabbit, and there were other times where I was giving comfort to it, like, "Sorry you've been in the shed for who knows how many years. That must have been really lonely and scary," kind of thing. And my sister is home as well, and so eventually I asked her, I was like, "Was this rabbit yours when you were little or mine?" And she was like, "I don't have strong memories of that rabbit, so it must have been yours," which makes a lot of sense, because again, I had this immediate sense of connection to it, and comfort, and almost reunion, like realizing how much I'd missed it when we'd been apart for all these years. Delight in being reacquainted. So of course it was mine. But what I experienced immediately upon seeing the rabbit that was so interesting is no one else was there when I began talking to the rabbit directly, I'm sorry you've been alone, I've missed you, you must have been scared, etc. It wasn't performative in any way. And so I wasn't making up the idea that the rabbit has an inner life. That was my direct experience. I felt that the rabbit was a being and that the rabbit had been alone and therefore sad. And again, this is how children are innately. To them, the stuffed animal is not stuffed. It's not dead, right? It is alive in the same way the child is alive. And sometimes you'll see a child, kicking around a stuffed animal, being brutal to their toys. I certainly did that, but I would apologize after. I felt that me taking my anger out on this stuffed thing was not okay, that it was akin to harming another being. And so I would want to make amends. So as children, we feel that thing is a being. It is alive in the same way that I am. And I have to treat it with reverence for that reason. And we'll often kind of dismiss this attitude when we grow into adulthood as, childish. That's literally the word we use. And childish, I feel, means the same as foolish or irrational. Like it's something we'll grow out of when we start to properly use our minds. But the truth is, there's something very beautiful and true in regarding even a quote-unquote inanimate being as a living being. So I want you to think to yourself, as I've been thinking these past few days and weeks, I guess, as I've been interacting with this being, what part is it of you that is inanimate? What part is it of you that never moves? Maybe has desires but does not voice them? Maybe has grievances, emotions, but does not show them? What part is it of you that is forever and irreducibly there for other people, regardless of how they treat you? What part is it of you that is absolutely present? On the surface, you may be anxious, you may be angry, you may have myriad other emotions that distract you from or inhibit you from fully showing up. Nevertheless, what part is it of you that remains there? We have many words for this in adult or spiritual parlance. We might call it spirit, we might call it soul, we might call it energy, consciousness. Different traditions prefer different kinds of language, but nevertheless, this is the quality, or these are the qualities that the stuffed animal expresses. The stuffed animal is loving in the most selfless way possible. Whether I hit it or throw it across the room or hug it or stroke it, it sits there and is there for me unconditionally. And that is the way our deeper essence is there for each of us. As we go through the myriad changes of life, there is this unrelenting, abiding presence or energy within us, behind us, like a gentle, uplifting hand. And so I would maintain that reacquainting with, taking care of a stuffed animal as an adult, even sleeping with a stuffed animal, as I've been doing, reminds us of this part of ourselves, gets us more in touch with this part of ourselves, requires our love of this part of ourselves. To the degree that we are disconnected from our own spirit, our own energy, we will be unable to do this. We will think to ourselves, that is just a doll, just a stuffed animal. It's not real. It's not alive. What do I care if it's in the shed for 10 to 15 years? It doesn't have any thoughts or feelings. And we will treat other people in that way too, with that sort of dismissal. And we will treat the earth that way. Perhaps most importantly, we will treat ourselves that way. What do my feelings matter? What do my thoughts matter? What does my life matter? I'm going to die anyway. This sort of callous attitude. And again, in our culture, this is branded as adult. Adult it may be, if adult means that we have gone through some hardship and that our spirit or our energy has in ways been fractured, been traumatized. But adult does not necessarily mean mature, does not necessarily mean giving, nurturing, or connected. And again, I think that caring for that which strikes the eye as dead or as inanimate, that brings forth this deeper presence through which we become more alive, more in touch with the sacred, and givers and caretakers in an enlightened way. So something else that's going on in my life at the superficial level is that there's a pandemic and I'm not allowed to interact with or touch as many people as I once did. And so I'm lonely, and it feels nice to touch, to be intimate with the stuffed animal in that way. And I'm sure there are things like that going on for a lot of people. But again, there's this deeper current too. There's this realization in me that even if this wasn't happening, even if I could interact with people in the way I once did, that this relationship would still be important, would still be a gift to me because of what it would be teaching me about my spirit, about my capacity, about what real love looks like and how it is indifferent to the object of its attention. So I just wanted to share that today. Again, my rabbit does not have a name, and I don't feel the need to give it a name. That's another interesting thing to think about, that by naming things, we kind of bring them into the human realm, grant them importance. This can be just a thing, and yet simultaneously it is a being, and I recognize it as such. It is a love and understanding beyond language. So thank you for listening. Yeah, thank you for listening. And I hope that your spirit too is expanding and being infused with love throughout this strange, disconcerting, but in subtle ways beneficial and illuminating time. And I hope you have a pleasant day. Goodbye.